What's up, Illumineers? We are heading into round three of the Win-A-Box Infinity Tournament in partnership with the Krakens Crate and Lorcana Cabana that we held in Newton, Iowa. And up here, we will see a match between Colton and Shawn. We did see Colton in round one on an Amber Emerald discard deck, and then Shawn, I believe, on a little bit more traditional Steel Song build, of course, with that very powerful A Whole New World.
Yeah, I think one of the newer cards that we haven't really seen a whole lot is that's new aerial ethereal voice, the boost aerial that draws a card when you sing a song. Um, I think both of these decks actually kind of showcasing that new card and really kind of utilizing it to be another kind of draw engine for these song decks.
Yeah, we also do see in Sean's list that he is on the new Akud Etimuti, which is a three-drop uninkable song that allows you to pay 2 ink less for the next character you play and also draw a card. So, also very powerful if you can get a singer out pretty early. And we know this deck is famous for the turn one Cinderella that is a singer three, but we also have access to the underdog Angel that is a singer three that you could play on turn one if you are going second.
Yeah, and some other kind of spicy includes for Sean's Steel Song deck is he is running the Shift Aerial Sonic Warrior along with the Shift Cinderella Stout Hearted. There aren't very many copies of those cards, but they can certainly be impactful if they hit the field.
Yeah, Cinderella Stout Hearted is a card that very early on, when I was playing Lorcana in my initial days, that was a card that I really enjoyed playing around with because I thought, wow, this must be the most powerful card in the game. And I don't know that that was necessarily true, but it can be pretty powerful if you are not able to deal with it pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly lost a match or two just because, yeah, I couldn't find a way to get rid of that Cinderella. That resist can be brutal when most of your removal is kind of based off of these steel damage cards.
This is interesting for Sean. We know that we're going up against Amber Emerald and a discard deck. So I believe, I could check Colton's deck list, but you have to assume that it's running the two-drop Mowgli and potentially the two-drop Ursula as well. It does not look like Colton is on Ursula, but I think if you're going into this not knowing the deck list, you would have to assume it's in there.
Yeah, I mean, if you see those color combinations, I would certainly expect to kind of see Ursula kind of come through. Um, Interesting that we don't see it.
And of course, both of those would be able to remove songs from Sean's hand. Ursula, the player who plays Ursula, gets to choose the song, and Mowgli is the reverse, which says the opponent must choose and discard a non character card.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it may make more sense to lean into the Mowgli, or I guess the argument may be that it can also affect kind of these item decks as Mowgli is able to kind of discard or at least interrupt some of those things. Obviously, it's their choice, but if they only have one choice, then he's kind of able to snag those cards as well.
So the players are entering their opening hands. Looks like both players have a turn one Cinderella Ballroom sensation.
Yeah, did we see who's going first?
I didn't catch that. So
Yep, looks like
well,
Shawn
looks
is on
like
the
we have
play.
our answer. Yeah. And Sean does have multiple songs in hand to be able to deal with this opposing turn one Cinderella pretty easily. Looks like Sean is probably going to get to play this two-drop Ursula Vanessa, which is just a 1/4, but a singer 4.
Yeah, and I think his hand is left with two strengths and a whole new world. Maybe I Let the Storm Rage On. I can't remember if that might have been the one that we played a little bit ago, though.
Yeah, it looks like we just inked a Rapunzel, so that would have been what came off the top. Okay, the hand a little bit different than what we're seeing off to the side. Some surprises there.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get that synced up here fairly soon, but
So, Max, what do you go with here? Do you take the whole new world or do you remove the strength?
I think if I'm Colton, what I'm looking at here is he doesn't right now. Shawn doesn't really have a turn three play. So like I think I take the strength, as that's one of his inkable options. So now he's forced to kind of ink one of these other characters, or ink whatever card he draws. But Shawn may not have really like a turn three play that can be all that impactful. And now Colton is sitting there with an Ariel Spectacular Singer in his hand, so he can kind of get his song engine online.
Looks like Shawn did ink that Rapunzel and go on a quest with the Ursula and Cinderella, and you're right, no turn three play at all.
Yeah. So right now we're looking. Colton, I suspect, wants to get this Ariel down, and if he does and it sticks, his next turn could be Muses plus a We Don't Talk About Bruno, and that may put Shawn in a difficult spot or a loss of a decent amount of kind of tempo.
Yeah. So we see that Shawn has the aerial ethereal voice, but also a... Oh, and we pull the Under the Sea. Yeah, if we establish the Muses, that is going to be tough. Ariel and the Muses can really do some work against this Steel Song strategy.
Ooh. We did have the Pete, which would have been able to kind of prevent this song play from that Colton's likely going to be doing here, but I can see where Shawn wants to get this Ariel down because it is also a shift target for...
We play the Mowgli. And we get rid of the whole new world. Now we sing We Don't Talk About Bruno. So Shawn will likely get to replay that Ariel.
Now
but...
it'll be... Oh, yeah, we did not play the Muses. I was so fixated on what we were talking about that I kind of assumed there was a bounce trigger.
No, he just sang that We Don't Talk About Bruno on the aerial ethereal voice. We still don't quite have enough to sing the Under the Sea. We now establish Diablo.
Which will give us enough to be able to do the Under the Sea this next turn. Potentially alongside the Muses. I'm not sure if he draws an Inkable, he could actually Muses Under the Sea and then redo his Mowgli in case a song was drawn.
Yeah, that is... Oh, and we just hard cast the whole new world on Shawn's side.
Well, I mean, Shawn did know about that Under the Sea, so he may just kind of be hedging his bets that he's going to need these bodies on the board.
Yeah, force Colton to get rid of the Under the Sea.
And Shawn does have the ability here to sing some of these songs, so...
Oh, and we sing a double Along Came Zeus on Ariel and Diablo. That is pretty powerful.
Yeah, those are some very good hits off of that whole new world.
Yeah, the Cinderella sings the Akuda Timuti, and we don't play another character this turn, though. That was a very, very good turn for Shawn.
Takes the whole new world. Now, I find that a little bit interesting when Shawn doesn't have the 5 cost singer on the board to be able to utilize it.
Yeah, the Akud will allow him to play things for cheaper. And of course, he'll be able to. We do reveal another Under the Sea. But he'll be able to boost that aerial ethereal voice and draw another card whenever he
Yeah, he'll
plays a
he'll likely be
song.
able to draw 2 cards at least right now with the off of his Akud and boosting his Aerial. And I wonder if we're gonna see Colton get a Cinderella down here. Yep. So he is now threatening to be able to sing that Under the Sea on his next turn.
Oh, and we see keep the ancient ways in Shawn's hand. Okay, so he draws a card off of a Cood and he draws a card off of the Aerial. This is suspenseful.
This match is kind of crazy. I mean, no one's really like questing a whole lot or getting a whole lot of lore, but I mean, like right now they're both kind of just pretty intensely fighting for kind of control over this board and kind of the tempo along with being able to sing.
So Shawn is able to play Mr. Smee for free because of the Akuda Tamuti. That is so powerful.
Mr. Smee, a card that used to be everywhere, and I think is still going to be very, very strong in these Infinity lists.
I have to say, I think I do miss Mr. Smee.
I like Mr. Smee quite a bit.
Play
Speaking
another
of
Mr.
which,
Smee. Yeah. And I think I saw Shawn draw keep the ancient ways off the top. Maybe you hold it a little bit more.
I don't know if you do. I think you sing it here. Oh, he
Oh, because
doesn't.
you still could do the End of the Sea.
Yeah, we know that the Under the Sea is still potentially there, right? He gets to keep his Aerial though, his Smees, which is important. Um, but that is still quite a few singers kind of off the board.
Yeah, and maybe just prioritizing questing there, try to get a little more lore.
Oh,
Oh, so we do give the aerial -2 strength with Adela's Moon Lullaby.
that is rough.
Potentially, that is going to be rough because if we sing Under the Sea here, that will take the aerial away too.
Yep. So then Shawn would just be left with the 2 Smees, which would be able to crack back into this Aerial, into the Cinderella. But I think that's a trade that you're okay with. Yeah, and we do see that kind of we do see that ripped off.
Yeah. Oh, and we do. I hear Shawn saying, "I could have stopped that," and in my mind, you weren't able to do that. So I
Yeah,
think just
I forgot one of
it's
them was a singer. I'm guessing, and didn't do the
yeah.
3+5, and then said it was 5+1 or 3+3. Um, yeah, I mean like that's tough.
And that is really tough because we don't see as many of these singers played in our core constructed today. So you're really looking at the cost of each card to determine whether your opponent can sing something like an Under the Sea.
Yeah, that's true. There really aren't. I mean, we do now have it with Angel a little bit, but we still really aren't seeing any keyword singer cards kind of find their way into core for the most part.
And it looks like more aerial spectacular singers in hand for Colton.
I think one of those got played. I don't think our hand
Okay.
is updated yet. There we
Oh,
go.
and we do find a we do have a you have forgotten me, which would force Shawn to discard 2 cards.
Which might be all Shawn has right now. I'm not sure if his hand is up to date.
So we do play a Let the Storm Rage On, try to draw another card.
I think we had hard casted the but notably still did not play the Keep the Ancient Ways.
And now maybe only 2 cards in hand for Shawn.
Yeah, looks like it is. Which, if you're Colton, I suspect you're wanting to just take those cards away.
Yeah, now we look at his hand with the 1-drop Diablo, and we've got enough ink to play this You Have Forgotten Me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose because we had played this song, I think that kind of makes sense. Otherwise, like, if I'm Colton, I'm kind of not really even looking to look at the cards in the hand, and instead just take them away.
So it looks like we do find. It almost looked to me like there might have been a whole new world in hand there, or out of the top 4, but I could have seen that wrong.
There might have been, but Shawn may be looking at trying to protect himself from a shifted Diablo.
That's true. A shifted Diablo, and then are kind of forced to sing the whole new world would just get out of control very fast.
But we do have the muses down now, and Shawn just with the single Let the Storm Rage On. It can clean up this bird.
We find another aerial, but does not look like we found a song.
And a rare aerial quest from Shawn. Interesting. I think if I'm Colton there, I might be looking at just sing the Akud with your aerial and then pick it up and replay it.
Yeah, we've now. Oh.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Well, then he wouldn't have been able to do that. So I'm wrong.
Oh, and then another aerial off the top.
I think that's the fourth aerial that we've seen from Shawn.
I believe so, and the third Under the Sea from Colton.
But I mean, this aerial muses combination really is very, very strong. Colton has the Akud in his hand, and he can kind of just start bouncing his aerial to just kind of keep digging for songs and finding value.
Ooh, Prince Naveen is good. Prince Naveen, when you play him, he lets you sing a song instantly for free. And now we could replay the aerial for 1 ink.
Yeah, and I think Colton is kind of getting there. I think we saw a Mowgli in his hand. I think that Mowgli plus that sudden chill will be enough to snag the cards out of Shawn's hand.
Yeah. The aerial was just played, so we pick it back up again.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and it looks like Shawn just concedes there, even though Colton has zero lore. I think just
Yeah,
knowing the inevitable lines here.
yeah, I mean, Shawn's deck really doesn't have an answer to that Muse. That really has no ability to target it, and it being able to kind of continue to recur that aerial to find the songs. The amount of value that Colton will be able to kind of get turn after turn is just going to be, uh, according to Shawn here, kind of insurmountable. And so going to the next round, making sure you've got time for games 2 and games 3 if it comes to those, I think is a wise choice to make.
Yeah. So Shawn will get to go first here again. And hopefully for him, the opening hand is maybe a little bit stronger than the last time. We know we saw I believe four songs in Shawn's opening hand.
We did, but I
Which
mean, we did get to still see turn 1 Cindy, turn 2 Let the Storm Rage On, killing a Cindy. So, I
that's
mean, I
true.
think the opening was still pretty good. I think it's just it can be a really tough spot, kind of depending on how these decision points go. Um, and I think a lot of it comes down to like if Colton can find the space to be able to establish that muses and get that engine online. Those ward characters are just very, very difficult for Amber Steel to be able to interact with.
They are. And those warded characters in general, I think, are some of the most difficult cards in the game to deal with.
Yeah, but
Um,
on the other hand, I mean, Shawn does have the tools to be able to kind of answer with it between Pete and Keep the Ancient Ways. I mean, Muse doesn't really do a whole lot if you can keep him off of being able to play songs.
right. And you know, what you want your opponent to do here in this case, what you would love to see is for them to turn those warded characters sideways and give you an opportunity to remove them, pretty
Yeah, and
quickly.
the best way that you can do that is to kind of get ahead on lore and make them kind of have to stop you without being able to use their songs. And Shawn, I think, was pretty close to being able to do that, but had miscounted the singers. We do
We do
see
see, yeah.
the turn 1 Cinderella, but we do see an Ink of the Keep the Ancient Ways, which is a card that could have potentially stopped some of the tough plays that Shawn was seeing last game.
Looks like Shawn has a pretty good curve here, though. A Pete Games referee, a Mr. Smee, an aerial ethereal voice.
Yep, he does still have the Let the Storm Rage on as well to be able to answer what's likely a turn 1 Diablo here. It could also be a turn 1 Cinderella, depending on how Colton kind of wants to go about it.
I do hear Colton saying they always have the Let the Storm Rage on.
Yeah.
That card does pair very well with a turn 1 Cinderella, kind of the optimal start that you want.
Now you've got to think he hits the bird here.
I would think so, especially knowing that this deck does play things like Mowgli, where, you could potentially lose that song next turn if you don't play it.
Well, Mowgli, Ursula, also, if he has like a Shift Diablo with the Hidden Cove, which he does have the Hidden Cove in his hand, then all of a sudden it becomes out of range for that Let the Storm Rage on too.
Yeah, so this makes sense to get rid of that bird before it becomes a big bird. We have two hidden coves in Colton's hand. One goes into the ink.
So yeah, you can see Shawn there wasn't sure whether a hidden cove was actually in the list, so was potentially maybe trying to squeak out or decide whether or not he could afford to wait for the big bird if it came.
So we ink a Pete, and we do play an aerial.
Yeah, we drew the aerial there.
And I did see a whole new world there right off the top.
Yeah, so far this game looks like it's lining up much more how Shawn would want it to.
Yeah, we only see it looks like a sudden chill in Colton's hand. And in this point, you know, Shawn has multiple cards in hand, so oh, we sing the bare necessities and we get rid of that whole new world. That is good.
And we got a Prince John off the top, so we get to draw a card for our efforts on that too. That's looking pretty good. I guess I don't know if we've got the updated version of Colton's hand here. It looks like we're getting in there now. Looks like we do still have a sudden chill plus some muses here, so we actually might be able to kind of pressure with this Prince John if things kind of keep going this way.
We play that aerial ethereal voice. We remove the Mowgli, and this is interesting because the Prince John cannot remove the aerial, and certainly you would welcome any opportunity for Colton to take a Prince John and turn it to the side. So I don't
Yeah.
think we will see that happen.
Yeah, I suspect any time that Prince John is turning sideways or whatever Shawn can do to get those ward characters turned, he's going to certainly try to take it.
So we take the last card from Shawn's hand. But still a little iffy for Colton here.
Yeah.
Looks like we just opt to pass.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we still have that Diablo in our hand, or the one-drop Diablo there. It feels like that would have been the ink choice as opposed to this aerial.
Yeah, and we do play another Pete on Shawn's side, so his characters will go on a quest, and that takes them up to, I believe, 9 lore. And now no actions on Colton's side again.
Opting to get the muses down. It looks like he inked a Sir Hiss, so that's likely what we drew for the turn. So still 2 Diablos and a You Have Forgotten Me in hand.
And when Shawn is top decking, the You Have Forgotten Me is not nearly as effective.
Yeah, but I mean, he's now sitting here with Shawn's at 14, and he's got to find a way to be able to stop this. I think
we take the quest there with the Pete or the Mr. Smee, even knowing that it will be banished.
I mean, Adela's plus an Under the Sea is kind of like what I think we have got to hope for here, but I mean that seems pretty far-fetched.
And I don't know that we would be able to do that, right? We have 7 in play.
7 yeah, you're right.
Be able to sing?
Yeah, for some reason I did the math the other way wrong. I was adding stuff to it.
So, I mean, at this point, you can turn your muses sideways. That feels really bad.
It's certainly never a thing that you want to be doing.
But it's kind of your last resort here, and I don't even know that would be enough. You could remove the Aerial Spectacular Singer.
Yeah, and it looks like our overhead camera may have paused here for a little bit, so I'm sure we'll get that cut up here in just a bit.
One of Colton's favorite lines is "No one shuts me out," and I think that's him indicating that he knows this game has probably gotten away from him.
Yeah, so it looks like he quested with the Prince John, challenged with the Muses, but I mean the writing's kind of on the wall for him, and being able to come up with a way to fully stop it here is going to be tough.
And yeah, now we have to have the Prince John sing. And even one of these angels can remove Prince John and live to tell the tale.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, they don't really have to. He's at 17.
Yeah, he just wants to quest and wrap it up.
Yeah, it looks like our overhead camera may have paused here again, so looks like that's what had happened. Colton couldn't get the board cleared up there. Did as much as he could, but wasn't quite enough. So we'll see what game 3 holds for us. And at this point, we've got Colton on the play, I think, for the first time of this series.
Yeah, I believe so. Which, if Colton can get started with, a turn one, maybe Diablo or Cinderella, and get his draw engine online and get, an aerial out there, it probably could run away pretty quick.
It looks like they're getting shuffled up here, and hopefully we're able to resolve these technical issues. I didn't really realize that we had some during some of these later matches as well.
That's all right. We see Colton really intently thinking there, right? For quite a while.
It's a really
No
difficult
movement.
mulligan
Yeah.
with your cards sprayed out on the table.
I was going to say scattered all around. But it does look like, there we go. And one of the cool things for maybe somebody who's not as familiar with the game about Disney Lorcana is you have a phase of the game before you actually begin called the altar phase, and it allows you to essentially look at the 7 cards that you drew and pick how many you would like to keep, and then you have one opportunity to send some cards back and draw a new set off the top. So this is a really great way, to do your best to make your hand as optimal as it could be to start.
Yeah, and I would say this is really the phase that, as you kind of get more experience with the game, you start to realize really starts to really set the scene for how the game is going to go. And I think as you kind of get more experience and as you kind of grow as a player, that it's a step of the game that you really start to kind of think about and spend a lot of effort kind of considering.
Yeah, I would definitely say that it is one of the hardest parts of the game too, because it can really set you up for great success early on, or it can, be to your detriment depending on what your opening hand is like.
Yeah, I mean, especially with a deck kind of like Colton. So, I mean, it looked like he had put back 4 cards. I'm not really sure if his strategy for mulligans is a bit more or as aggressive as some of these Diablo decks, but a lot of them really try to push for that opener. But it looks here like we've got the 1-drop Cinderella, so maybe that's a good enough fallback plan that if we've got that, we don't push as hard as some of these other Diablo decks.
Yeah, and it looks like Shawn does have a pretty good opening hand here. We have the option to play Cinderella as well, or an Aurora.
Well, I think we play an angel. Oh no, that's an Ariel in his hand, not an angel. So I think we probably lean out with the Cinderella. I think in general you feel like in the steel version of this deck or these decks, I think that the steel Cinderella is a bit stronger, just because of that. Let the storm rage on. So Shawn's cards will kind of have the ability to actually remove Colton's cards, Whereas Colton's Cinderella is likely going to be singing something like an Akud or some sort of an accelerant.
Yeah, and maybe for Shawn, you even hold the one drop Aurora, noticing in his hand there's no turn two play right now. And although Aurora on turn two would not be as ideal as maybe a Mr. Smee would be, it is certainly something that would allow you to keep establishing board presence.
Yeah, I guess the other opportunity though is if he leads out with the Aurora, he can on turn two get down his aerial spectacular singer and potentially be able to have that online on turn three to sing something like a whole new world or a Zeus or something like that. Does
That's
opt for the
true. Looks like,
Cinderella though.
yeah. And we did ink the Aurora. You rightly predicted there that Cinderella on Colton's side would sing a cood, and that'll allow him to play that aerial.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like maybe no songs out of
Now,
the top
a
four
scary
there.
thing that Colton's deck could have potentially done on this turn is it could sing a Cood and then get out a Muses on turn two, which would be a very, very strong play. And it looks like he has the Muses in his hand, so that is a playline that he could have gone for.
Yeah, that would have been a pretty terrifying start there if you get the muses out that quickly.
It also then would have been, it looks like, followed up with a Prince John and a Sudden Chill. Um, would be interesting to kind of hear some of the thoughts on why that line wasn't kind of driven for.
Yeah, that would have essentially taken control of the game pretty fast.
Yeah, because I mean, at that point, even if Shawn gets down um, an aerial or something like that, your muse is then going to be able to kind of just start bouncing back those singers almost immediately.
And if Shawn did not draw a two drop here, yeah, it looks like he doesn't have anything to play this turn, which is not ideal either.
So I think if you're Colton here, I mean, unfortunately, we didn't get the muse down before because we opted for this aerial. So I think we're looking at having to potentially ink the muses. Um, so I think I would be looking at ink the muse, get the John down, and then sing our sudden chill.
Yeah, that would be
And it
a really good line here.
looks like that might have happened. It looks like our top camera may have frozen again, so we'll have to see kind of where we get caught up on.
Looks like maybe we've passed back over to Shawn. So we'll get that top camera there resolved in just a few moments.
Yeah, we can see that they're updating their hands a little bit, but I'm thinking Colton's probably got his Prince John on the field. And I'm guessing one of these aerials had hit the field for Shawn. Oh, so
There
we
we
got an
go. A
aerial
lot
and
happened.
a
Yeah.
got an aerial and a Pete, and we got our Prince John
Yeah.
and our muses out. So, um, yep. Pete taking out the aerial with the strength there.
We sing a Keep the Ancient Ways with the Cinderella. Maybe no cards in?
Sean's got two cards. I think maybe a Rapunzel and an aerial.
Okay, so we do have the Hidden Cove, and we are going to move Prince John to the Cove. Oh, we don't have enough ink to move the Prince John to the Cove.
No, but moving those warded characters against Shawn's deck doesn't really matter a whole lot unless you're in a position where you need to be challenging.
This is a good play by Shawn. There, I believe, was a whole new world off the top there, but opting again not to choose that. And instead, we have the Strength of a Raging Fire that can now remove the Diablo, even though it is at the Cove.
Yep. Yep, and we see Shawn there respecting that cove. I mean, it is a card that can just kind of make all of the math a little weird going forward. So opting to kind of get it out of the field now, I think makes sense.
So it looks like Colton maybe gave -2 to Pete and then bounced the Cinderella back to Shawn's hand. Shawn teasing him and saying, "Do you want to bounce my Pete?"
Now, an interesting thing here is, do we think that Colton will actually... He could move the Muse to the Hidden Cove and crack into this aerial.
He could, yeah, and only take 2 damage back.
The risk there, I guess, is the other aerial will be able to kind of clean it up cleanly. So because Shawn put that 5 damage on that cove, it actually kind of removes that as an option for him, because that Pete does have the Dellas on it, so it would actually still have the -2, I believe, until Colton's next turn.
Yes, but it would have 1 strength that could finish off this Hidden Cove.
Yep.
Okay, so we don't do that. Colton just opts to bounce his own aerial back to hand.
Yep. So he'd bounced his aerial and bounced his Prince John. I'm not sure if I agree with that fully. I think you do need to be able to have some of these singers kind of stick onto the board.
Especially, yeah, if we are looking to do something like we did in game 1 where we sing that Under the Sea.
Yeah, I mean, it also just kind of opens you up to something like a whole new world where um, it making you pitch your Ariel and your Prince John is going to be pretty rough, no matter what 7 cards you kind of end up with.
We see the, as we said, the rare quest of the aerials, but I think this is a heads up play. We know 1 Hidden Cove is in the inkwell, 1 is in the discard, so not really worried about this Muses cleaning them up.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if that's a concern, I think that you're still kind of in a position where you still kind of need to get that Muse off the board. So it turning sideways to try to challenge into one of your characters, I think you're still okay being able to kind of trade that back.
So Colton plays the bare necessities there, hoping to find maybe a song. And Shawn reveals that he just has a Rapunzel in hand.
Yeah, I mean, Colton there could have inked and gotten his Prince John back on the field. I'm thinking that might have been a better option for him to kind of get there. but he does have that Under the Sea in the hand, and he does have the ability to sing it this turn. Um, Shawn will still have his Smee and a Pete, but he will lose his best singers.
Yeah, and we do see that come down.
Now that's pretty good, and that timing of that cove means that trading back into these characters is actually going to be difficult. He'd have to send both of them into the aerial to be able to take it out.
Of course, Colton chooses to bounce that aerial back to hand again.
Yeah, and was talking with Shawn about it. I mean, had asked for the take back because technically once it moves to that cove, Muse actually wouldn't be able to move it anymore. But Shawn let him kind of take that back, and as a result, he kind of just ended up wasting an ink.
Looks like now Shawn is forced to hardcast a whole new world, which was drawn off the top.
Now you gotta wonder here if Shawn will go ahead and take out the cove.
Yeah, we've seen
or
him respect the hidden cove before.
or he could take out the Muse. Oh, go ahead and trades both characters for the Muse. I mean, not the best trade for Shawn, but I mean, that Muse really can kind of just be an impressive engine that just sits there.
Absolutely. And allowing Colton, especially with 7 fresh cards in hand, to be able to bounce everything could be rough. I can't tell with Colton's hand there if that is a second Mowgli that's in hand, but we did see that Shawn did not have any other songs. So a pair of sudden chills comes down.
Yeah, and
unfortunately, that Prince John not on the field to really get you the value from it.
And Colton kind of kicking himself a little bit there. I mean, he had the ink to be able to do it if he had kind of thought through his turn before kind of just moving everything to the cove.
Mowgli can get rather annoying pretty quickly if you're playing a deck that is so heavy on actions or items.
Colton going ahead there and inking his Strike a Good Match. I mean, I guess he's kind of sitting here now with this Under the Sea in his hand, so maybe he's just attempting to kind of establish enough singers to be able to get that down, because 2 Mowglis plus the Muse will be enough to be able to get there.
Yeah, especially if we could find something like a Adela's Moon Lullaby to deal with the Mr. Smee. That's rough, though. We can sing along Came Zeus and actually deal 5 damage to the hidden cove. Unfortunately, not enough ink to get Ariel's additional effect.
Yeah, and Shawn without any cards in hand, that Bruno will clean out, take out the aerial, and
Now
now
he's
he's
seeing
got
the
the
end
end
of
of
the
the sea.
sea. Yeah. Colton choosing to bounce one of his Mowgli's back to hand.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, Colton's at a point where he may be able to start to kind of turn that table, but he kind of has to do it in this next turn or two because Shawn is at 10.
Yeah, choosing not to quest with the Mr. Smee there, protect him a little bit longer.
Yeah, and opting to kind of
Yeah, this
quest
is
here. That Mr. Smee does have a reduced power for right now, so I actually can't trade into any of these characters.
right. Yeah, hard to find that Prince Naveen off the top too, and just not have the song to kind of rip with it.
No, but I mean, he does still have the ability to sing a whole new world should he find it. So,
That's true.
but he's just kind of pressing here, and I think Shawn may be in a position where he has to kind of hold back and kind of wait for something to gain an advantage off of.
Yeah, he could remove some of these characters, but it is kind of risky business.
He could
Sir Hiss does,
also just kind of start pressing for lore here in just a bit.
yeah. And at this point, you can go up to 14. You're threatening two more with that Mr. Smee that's untapped. And at this point, I mean, Colton would have to run. Uh, well, he could run Sir Hiss in, which is an evasive card.
Yeah. I mean, if the Smee turns sideways, then it could be taken out with something like a Mowgli, because it'll end up with 2 damage on it. We do see Shawn opt for that line, so you've got to kind of think here. I'd expect Colton to kind of challenge in now and start to kind of like fight these boards the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, and at this point, Colton not drawing, quite what you would want to see.
Throwing away the Cinderella though over the Mowgli seems like an interesting choice.
Yeah. I guess maybe you're hoping that you could eventually
You
bounce
could
that Mowgli back to hand.
but I think that the Singer 3 of the Cinderella is probably just worth more. Ooh, opting to smack in with the muses, which I mean, Shawn's kind of at the point now where he is pressing, so
Yeah, it chooses to remove that Muses, though, just too powerful of a card to let it stick around.
that unless I had missed something, I think that Pete should have 2 damage on him.
Yes, it should.
Yeah, I think they're resolving it now. I think that they're realizing the issue.
Yeah, the Pete challenged the
Yeah.
Muses,
Okay.
and
They got
yeah.
there and they got resolved. Yeah, they're
Maybe conferring with the lore guide.
they are lore guide before that term existed. Um, but I mean, I think
So Colton questing for two. Aurora's not going to be able to remove either of these.
but that storm will.
Yes. Both players just continuing to top deck one drops. Oh, it doesn't feel quite as bad when he has to spend all 8 ink to play that Under the Sea, though.
No, but that Pete I think is pretty brutal. I think Shawn ended up drawing a Della's. And
No
that
song.
is tough. Yeah, and that'll be Shawn getting there to 20.
Yeah.
What a close game.
Yeah, that one was intense for a little while as they just
Yeah,
kind of went back and forth. That was what was interesting about this matchup in general is they just fought back and forth the whole time. So we've seen Colton win one round on stream, and then we've seen now Shawn take one round as well, and then we saw Mitchell take a round.
yep. And so with this tournament, there was we had I think around 12 players. So this is just going to be a 4 rounds of Swiss, and then it'll be a cut to top four. So we got one more round of the Swiss rounds in the next video, and then it'll be a cut to the semifinals and then the finals.
All right, we look forward to it. Super exciting stuff.
We'll see you then.